would stop breathing if you told me to. Now you're busy loving someone else.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel, Say What's Real TV. We are back with the review for Tyler Perry's Divorce Sistas. This is Season 1, Episode 3, Hushed Tones. So we open up the episode exactly where we left off with Javon asking Geneva, is Anika his child? And of course she's over there hemming and hawing. What are you talking about? Of course not. Girl, stop it. And Javon, he's no fool because according to his timeline, it's given, I know she's mine and my heart says she's mine. So according to Line Behind Geneva, she told her friend she only hunched this man one time, which it only takes one time to get pregnant. But Javon is letting it be known they were hunching without protection, which also, like I said last week, would explain you pillow talking. Now he questions her, how could she possibly name her child Anika, knowing that that's the name that they were supposed to have for their child. Now they get into this whole deep, intense conversation as if her husband is not right in the next room about the love that they shared for each other when they was back sneaking and creeping and how good they were together to the point where they were going to leave their spouses for each other. So while she's standing there shaking in her boots, she asks him, like, what are you doing here? So he tells her that he's there for her and he's been thinking about her every single day for the last 5 years and 11 months, but who's counting? And, you know, basically he left his wife and now it's her turn to leave William. And I'm like, wait a minute, sir. If you loved her that much, why it took you damn near 6 years for you to get a divorce? But you think that you're just going to pop back up after almost 6 years and say, look, I'm here for you. You were supposed to be my wife, and I know you're not effing happy. Let's go. Sir, it just doesn't work like that. But then he claims he's not there to hurt William or to say anything to him, but wants to know, does she want him to really leave, and says this is probably the most excitement she's had since he left. And we heard her say something to that extent to Rashida last episode. So William, he yells out and brings these two back to reality because I think they forgot where the hell they were. So they gather themselves all together, playing it off, acting like nothing ever happened. I'm like, people just ain't no damn good. So in the next scene, we see Rashida and Jeff headed to the banquet and they are in a bad Rolls Royce. So Rashida asked him, did he mean what he said about loving her? And I'm like, when did Jeff say he loved you? Because I didn't hear that. Now, of course, with his raggedy behind, he's instantly annoyed just because she's talking to him, I feel. And he asked her, what's wrong with her lately? Is it menopause? Like, why did it have to be menopause, Jeff? See, that's why I don't like him, because his mouth is reckless and he's rude and disrespectful. So he pretty much deflects and puts everything on her, saying that she's changed all of a sudden and she's insecure and he wants to know what's going on. Like, Jeff, please, Stevie Wonder can see you don't give a damn. So she goes off on him, letting him know that she peeps how he always tries to turn it around, and he plays in her face, giving her this sarcastic, like, here, damn, I love you, Rashida, you know I do, like, keep it. Rashida, please stop asking this man if he loves you or not. His actions are clearly showing you what time it is. And proceeds to say that he tells her he loves her every Sunday in church. Really, Jeff? So in this long, drawn-out back and forth that they're having, we find out that they're not even hunching. So where you getting it from, Jeff? He says the reason that he doesn't like to be alone with her anymore or they don't ride together is because she's always bringing something up and nagging. And then at some point she mentioned to him that he finds time for every single thing except for her and the family. And it brought me back to her showing Isabella that Jeff is penciled in to have time with the family every week at a certain time. So this conversation is saying otherwise. So was Isabella possibly telling the truth? Because she tells him, I constantly have your back, but you don't have mine. So he gets real smug and he tells her that he's made several sacrifices for her to have this good life, and throws in her face how any woman would be glad to be in her shoes and how he knows that she sees all the women looking at him. So she tells him that's why she does whatever she has to do to protect him and the church. And he's like, well, what is that supposed to mean? So this is where I'm confused, because why are we not talking about the accusations that are being brought against him? Why is she not saying what Isabella said to her? We're talking about, oh, are we drifting apart? Oh, do you love me? No, we need to be talking about what is going on in these church streets and that someone is trying to come forward with something that can tear everything down. Now, I can't tell if he's just clueless and doesn't know what these women are saying, or he really doesn't care because he knows that Rashida is going to handle it. Because he's walking around like he can't be touched. And if I was Rashida, I would be making my exit plan and getting ready for him to be exposed and let that ship sink. But she likes to keep up appearances and worrying about what people say. She better worry about herself and her kids and get up out of that. But anyway, she did have to humble him real quick and let him know she didn't need him to provide her with a good life because her granddad is the reason he was able to get to church in the first place. So we go over there to Naomi's house and she's looking good. She's feeling good, getting prepared to go to this banquet when she gets a knock on the door. And it's the police and one of Franklin's attorneys. They are there to collect property that she was supposed to give up in the divorce settlement. Now, of course, we've seen Naomi in the first 2 episodes, so we already know she's getting ready to act a whole plumb fool, and that she does, telling them she's not doing this, she's not giving up that, this is her stuff, blah, blah, blah. Franklin's attorney was not fazed one bit by Naomi and all of her antics. He was pretty much prepared for it. They already had her cars on the tow trucks, taking them away. They started bringing out fur coats and her paintings. Now, this is a side note. This particular painting that they're bringing out right here will show up again later on in the episode. But anyway, they're trying to get some earrings and a watch that she has on, and of course, she puts up a fight. But when they finally get it off of her, she takes the earrings off and throws them across the way. The attorney, he didn't give a damn. He told her, we have metal detectors, we'll find them. So they pretty much got whatever it was they came for. And of course, Naomi, she's upset, huffing and puffing. So she goes to get into the one car that he did leave her pulling off, leaving her glam squad standing outside wondering what the heck just happened. Now, Naomi, you knew you had to give these items up. You got a little petty Indian giver, wants his stuff back, give him his stuff back. But if you want to be petty, you should have put some sugar in the tank. You should have Cloroxed them furs. You should have sliced up them pictures. That's all you had to do, but you knew you had to give it up. So I don't know why we had to spend 5 minutes on this scene with you acting a whole donkey. Talking about you don't want the new wife to have your sloppy seconds. Let her have it. If he left you broke as a joke, I would understand it better. But you actually have $37 million. Go buy brand new stuff, bigger and better, girl. So in the next scene, we get Geneva, William, and Javon all riding in the car together. And Geneva is sitting there stiff as a board. You know she's scared. Now her phone is ringing and it's Naomi's hairstylist, Duffy, calling her, but she doesn't answer at first. And you have William playing in everybody's face, if you ask me, because I still feel like William knows something. So he's in the car suggesting that they introduce Javon to Tiffany, and he's giving Tiffany all the praises. She's got herself together, kid in college, got her own money, this and that and the other. Geneva automatically says, I don't think that's a good idea. Why not, Miss Geneva? You don't want nobody talking to your baby daddy. So Javon told William that he really wasn't interested because he had his eye on somebody else. It seemed like William didn't give a damn. He's like, okay, that's cool, but you'll meet her tonight and maybe Geneva can put in a good word because they've been friends for years. So when he says that, then now all of a sudden Javon is interested and says that he's looking forward to it and wondering if Gigi was going to put in a good word for him. And I'm like, ooh, child, they are so messy up in this car. So Duffy, she finally gets Geneva on the phone and she tells her everything that just happened with Naomi and says that she is down bad. So Geneva hangs up with Duffy. Now, in addition to all the stress she's going through up in this car, she has to worry about where Naomi is and what's going on with that. Javon in the back seat staring a hole in the back of her head keeps asking, is there anything I can do? Is there anything I can do? Sir, she said she got it the first time. So we finally get over there to the banquet and we see Bridget trying to get everything set up. We then see Vaughn taking pictures of the table saying that he needs to get content for his page when another guy that works there thinks that he is an actual waiter. And of course he thinks that because he has on a dirty behind waiter's uniform. So he's basically telling Vaughn he needs to get to work. So the two of them get into it and Bridget has to come and break it up. Vaughn gets mad because Bridget told the guy that he was a guest instead of saying that he was Bridget's man. So the guy, he apologized and he leaves. So now Him and Bridget are going back and forth, and he's telling her that she never tells anybody about him and it's hurting him. She basically tells him she's under too much pressure and doesn't have time for it. And I'm like, girl, you should have never brought him there in the first place, especially with that dirty behind uniform. You knew he didn't have nothing to wear, and you knew he was going to get in there and clown. Then he storms off talking about he needs a drink at the church function. Now, side note, remember I told you guys we would see one of those paintings coming out of Naomi's house later on in the episode? Well, here it is at the banquet. Now, did Franklin decide to be real petty and send this $4 million picture over here to donate to the church or put up for auction or something? Or did Tyler just decide to use it as an extra prop? So everybody's arriving at the banquet. The ladies, they gather up. They can tell something is going on. Geneva is like, let me call Naomi. They put her on the speakerphone. We see her walking out of the liquor store, drinking out of the bottle, taking it straight to the head. So they're asking her what is wrong. So she tells them about Franklin coming to get all of her stuff that belongs to her. And she even mentions the same painting that's sitting over there at the banquet. And she asks Geneva, what kind of lawyer are you, like that's her stuff? And Geneva tells her, look, you knew you had to give that stuff back. I tried to tell you. So she tells them that she's all dressed up and she's on her way to the banquet, but then she says she doesn't feel like it. So of course they're like, oh, you know, that's a good idea. That's for the best. We'll just come right over there as soon as it's over. So she kind of convinced herself that she didn't want to show up anymore. She wants to go home or whatever. She looks a mess. And of course they agreed and they try to find out where she is, but she hangs up the phone. So the ladies, they decide to go back downstairs because now people are starting to arrive. When we get down there, we see Myron adjusting Jeff's tie, but we'll put a pin in that. So we see Calvin again. We still don't know who Calvin is, but he is salty and hotter than fish grease because he did a favor for Bridget, giving her young boyfriend a job, and he quit on him, leaving him high and dry. So as Calvin is venting to Jeff about what happened, Vaughn walks up, dapping up everybody, just loud and obnoxious, looking for liquor. So for some odd reason, Calvin wants Vaughn to acknowledge him like, you don't see me standing here. And Vaughn had to tell him, look, I quit. That's your job. Deal with it. So Calvin jumps in his face and they're getting ready to go at it. Jeff intervenes to try to break it up and lets Vaughn know there's no liquor here. So Vaughn continued talking about he needs some type of drink. He is going to be 30 in 4 days, and Calvin can't seem to let go of how he abandoned the job. And Vaughn told him, look, you keep talking about this job, man, that's your problem. Let me get away from you because you are messing up my energy. So now everybody is gathering around. The ladies have joined the guys. William is introducing Javon to everyone. And Tiffany quickly realizes that she's being set up with Javon while Gigi, aka Geneva, and Rashida are over there giving each other the eye. So they decide to all go sit down, and William is doing way too much. He's being so persistent on where everybody needs to sit. He wants Tiffany next to Javon to now where he's embarrassing Geneva and she's telling him to stop. But we really know why she wants him to stop. So now they're starting the event, and Rashida and Jeff go up to the podium so they can give their speeches. And the whole point of this function is to try to raise money and have people make contributions and donations to get a new church. So Rashida, she gets up there, she makes her speech and gives a dig back at Jeff for saying she talks too much. And they get into this prayer, and the whole time she's praying, Gigi is staring at Jay. So since that's what they call each other, that's my new names for Geneva and Javon. So next up, we see Bridget and Vaughn, and he wants to know where they're going to be sitting, and she tells him in the back corner somewhere. And of course, still loud, don't give a damn where he is. So Rashida was like, look, you guys just come sit over here. The minute he gets to the table, he shows his natural behind. Totally embarrassing. I don't feel sorry for Bridget because, again, I feel like she should have never brought him there in the first place. So Tiffany speaks to him and he speaks back, and then he noticed she's with Javon and says, oh, are y'all together? Geneva, Gigi, interjects and says, no, they're not. Like, girl. Vaughn says, I was talking to her. Geneva, girl, I'm going to need you to pull back and chill, okay? Pull back. You're making it obvious. So Vaughn let it be known that loose-lipped Bridget is at home telling all her friends' business because he says that Tiffany was the one that got divorced and that her husband cheated on her. And it was giving secondhand embarrassment for everybody at the table. So Jay apologizes to Tiffany because William was so pushy, and the two of them kind of just hit it off. So they're vibing, getting to know each other, talking about being divorced, this and that and the other, to the point where they are kikiing and having a great old time. Geneva is over there like, excuse me, what's so funny? What are you lacking about? Like, no ma'am, Geneva. This lady is so jealous that the two of them are making a connection. She knocks her glass over, frantic and upset. Now she has to run off to the bathroom. So naturally, Rashida gets up to go check on her, and William says, find out what's wrong with her because she's been acting super strange. And of course, they pan the camera to Javon. So we get in the bathroom, and Geneva is having some type of panic attack. So she finally admits to Rashida that Javon came to her office earlier that day saying he's back for her and he wants her. But now all of a sudden, William has invited him to the house and now trying to set him up with Tiffany, and she doesn't know what's going on. It's definitely looking a little suspect. So in this moment is where she has to actually face her friend and tell her the truth, because she's been lying to her for the last 6 years, right? You told a half truth even earlier today, saying that you only slept with Javon one time, and now having to admit to her that you slept with him multiple times, and he thinks that Anika is his child, and all of this was going on during the whole IVF process. So back at the table, Myron makes it his business to let Jeff know that money is on the way, and they get excited about it. Vaughn is still at the table being Vaughn, and he starts questioning Myron about his jacket. He says that his wife got it for him, and I'm like, well, where's your wife, Myron? Why wouldn't she be at the church function with you? I'm confused. So Vaughn is going on and on to the point where everybody has had enough, and Bridget is telling him, let's go. So Tiffany gets up from the table and head towards the bathroom. So William starts badgering Javon about what he thinks about her, and he thinks that she's cool and good people and as advertised, but he just wants to enjoy the night. And he's getting the pastor involved in all this. I'm like, William, you have to relax. You got to relax. Chill out. What are you up to? Bridget sends Vaughn home, and now they get into this whole conversation they should have had a long time ago. Now all of a sudden you've never been around people like this. Oh, you never had a man in your life. Like, nobody wants to hear all of that, because y'all should have had that conversation at home somewhere, not at the function. And again, she should have never brought him there. So he agrees to go home and says he's going to take her car. And she was like, no, you're not. How am I going to get home? So child, they do all of that, and he finally walks out. But as he's leaving, we see Franklin and Lindsay walking in. Now we go back to the bathroom with the ladies, and when Tiffany gets in there, she clearly sees that something's going on and that Geneva is not good. And she's asking, like, is everything okay? But they're not telling her. So she goes and uses the bathroom. She comes back out, and she tells Geneva that she's been holding out on her about Javon. So Tiffany tells Geneva and Rashida that she likes Javon, and she thinks that she's ready to get back out there and start dating again. And of course, the two of them are giving each other the side eye because they know this is not going to end well for Tiffany. So the question is, in this moment, should Geneva tell Tiffany what is actually going on between her and Javon, knowing that she also has loose lips? Now, they don't give Tiffany any kind of feedback when she says all of this. Rashida deflects by saying, let's go back to the table. And Tiffany peeps game, and she's like, well, whatever this is, I guess y'all will tell me about it later. And she leaves. So Bridget, she comes in there and she lets them know that Franklin has arrived with Lindsay. And she notices that something is up and wants to know what's going on. And of course, they're not going to tell her talking behind anything. So they all go back to the table. So Jeff, he goes to greet Franklin and Lindsay, and I see some eye contact going on between him and Lindsay. But she flat out tells him, I didn't want to come, and wants to know, is the dragon lady there? And Rashida walks up right on time saying, and who might that be? Tiffany gets up out her chair and like, who are you calling the dragon lady? Like, girl, don't be coming up in here talking about my friend. So Rashida goes to sit in her chair, but Myron has his weird ass in her chair next to Jeff as if he's the first lady holding her glass of water. So he hurries up and get up, but she's giving him this long death stare, and she asks him, did you drink out of my water? He's like, no, first lady. Now I'm gonna need them to shed some light on what's going on between Myron and Jeff, or Myron and whoever, because he is acting real suspicious. So Lindsay is letting it be known that she has the earrings in her ear that was confiscated from Naomi. So in the blink of an eye, they had the metal detectors on deck to go find these earrings, clean them up, and take them to Lindsay so she can wear them to this event. But whatever. The girls notice what she's trying to do, and Franklin comes slick out his mouth talking about, do y'all like what y'all see? And Tiffany lets both of them know that those earrings will look so much better on a brown-skinned woman because color makes them pop. So while Lindsay is trying to sit there and showboat and everybody thought they were safe, in walks Naomi. She is drunk as hell. She stumbles over to them and they try to hold her up. She spots Franklin and Lindsay and she says, I know damn well y'all are not sitting here talking to her. And that's where the episode ends. Ooh, child. We already know Naomi is getting ready to crash out. Will Geneva tell Tiffany about her shenanigans with Javon? Or will she let this girl catch all these feelings and then get her feelings hurt in the end? Do you guys think that William knows what went on between Geneva and Javon and he's just playing the long game? Let's talk about it in the comments. And also, what is up with Myron? Why is he so weird? Why is he so stuck up the pastor's behind? No pun intended. And where is his wife? We needs to know. Let's talk about it in the comments. Let me know what you guys thought about this episode. As always, you guys, thanks for the support. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.